"You're not welcome at Christmas," my mom said. "You're not welcome to my wallet," I replied, then blocked her number. It didn't stop there. Hey Reddit. So I, 31 male, work as a network engineer at this IT company. Not making bank or anything, just a solid $72,000 a year, which is decent in my city. But for years, I've basically been my family's freaking wallet. And I mean years. Growing up, I was always the responsible one, while my older brother Drake, 33 male, was the golden child who could do no wrong. Mom always had this weird thing where Drake got away with everything while I got shit for breathing wrong. When I was 16, I got a weekend job at a local computer repair shop, and that's when it started. Mom borrowing from my paychecks for household expenses. Meanwhile, Drake was blowing his money on weed and video games. By the time I graduated college, which I paid for myself with scholarships and working night shifts at a 24-hour diner, the pattern was set. Mom needed help with her car payment. Drake needed bail money. Mom's roof was leaking. Drake got fired again. I make decent money now, not swimming in cash, but enough that I bought a small condo last year. But these people were bleeding me dry. I calculated it once. I've given them over $43,000 in the past 3 years alone. The worst part? They acted like they were entitled to every penny. Like I owed them. My mom never said thanks, just, I need $600 for the electric bill, or, the car needs repairs, about $1,200. Drake still lives with her at 33, which might as well be 40 with how he acts. He can't keep a job longer than a few months. Always networking or exploring opportunities, which really means playing Xbox and hanging with his loser friends. He even had the balls to ask me for $3,500 to start some dropshipping business that was obviously going nowhere. My mom's friend Susan would sometimes tell me how mom would brag about her son's success to her church friends, while simultaneously texting me about needing money, not once mentioning that I was basically supporting two adults. The breaking point came when I got this novel-length text from my mom. You know the type. A whole essay when the point is simple. She needed another $900 for property taxes that she forgot about, same taxes she pays every year. But then she hit me with, if you can't help me, I don't know what I'll do. Your brother is struggling too. You know I count on you, Alex. That's what family does. That line messed me up. She wasn't asking for help. She was straight up making her problems my responsibility. Meanwhile, I had just gotten a $2,400 water damage bill from my condo that my insurance wouldn't fully cover. That night, sitting in my living room staring at my phone, everything became crystal clear. I wasn't their family member. I was their personal bank. They didn't care about me, just what I could give them. They never asked how I was doing or if I was struggling. Just expected me to give and give like I owed it to them. So I decided I was done. Done being their financial crutch. Done letting guilt control me every time they asked for something. But I didn't want drama. So I figured I'd just slowly back away. I started making a plan. First, I'd stop answering every call immediately. Then I'd gradually decrease how much I was giving them. Maybe they'd get the hint without a big confrontation. This wasn't just about money. It was about respect. About being valued as a person, not as a walking wallet. About setting boundaries that should have been there from the start. Looking back at old texts made it even clearer. Hundreds of messages asking for money, barely any asking how I was doing. My birthday last year? Mom texted me, "Happy birthday," followed by, "BTW, can you help with the water bill this month?" Drake didn't even remember it. Every family gathering turned into a financial ambush. They'd wait until everyone was around, then casually mention some crisis they needed help with, making it harder for me to say no with an audience watching. I checked my bank statements going back 5 years. The pattern was insane. Every single month, multiple withdrawals to help them, and the amounts kept increasing over time, from a couple hundred to over 1,000 per month. Even my dating life suffered. I went out with this girl Olivia for a few months last year, but when she noticed how often I was sending money to my family, she got concerned, said it wasn't healthy. I defended them back then, but she was right. The next day after that property tax text, I didn't respond. Mom called 6 times. I let it go to voicemail. Each message got progressively more panicked and guilt-trippy. "Alex, please call me back" became, "I don't know what I'll do if you don't help me." And finally, "I guess you don't care about your family anymore." That last one actually made me laugh, because they were right. I was starting to care a lot less. Years of emotional manipulation will do that to you. Lol, that slowly backing away plan? Yeah, that didn't work for shit. When I started ignoring some calls and saying no, they just called and texted more. First, I'd be like, "Sorry, can't help right now." Then, "I'm not in a position to lend money anymore." Eventually, I just stopped replying. They kept at it like freaking vultures. Thanksgiving was the first major test. I told Mom I couldn't make it. Had to work. A lie, but I needed the break. She flipped out, saying family should be together on holidays. What she really meant was she'd planned to ask for Christmas money with everyone there, so I couldn't say no. I spent Thanksgiving alone in my condo, ordered a pizza, and binge-watched shows. Best holiday in years. No stress, no guilt trips, no money requests, just peace and quiet. Mom called that night, crying about how empty the house felt without me, how Drake was disappointed. How could I abandon them on a family holiday? I almost caved, but then heard Drake in the background asking if I'd sent the money yet. That snapped me right back to reality. December was rough. The requests got more frequent and more desperate as Christmas approached. The excuses got wilder too. Car repairs, medical bills, house payments, each one an emergency that couldn't wait. I started screening all their calls, set up text filters so their messages went to a separate folder I'd check once a day instead of seeing them pop up constantly. My anxiety actually started getting better. Then came December 23rd when my mom called, totally panicking. Mom told me she'd already told everyone I'd be bringing the ham for Christmas dinner, and she was counting on me to help with Drake's car payment. I stayed calm and told her I couldn't help, that they'd have to figure things out without me. She told me I wasn't welcome for Christmas anymore. Said she couldn't believe I'd turned my back on my own family after all she'd done for me. That cut deep, but I didn't let her know it hurt. I just said I was done and hung up. My coworker Jake, who I've gotten pretty tight with, invited me over when he heard I had nowhere to go. His wife Maria was super cool about it too, made sure I felt welcome. It was weird spending Christmas with someone else's family, but honestly, way less stressful than my own. Jake's family was eye-opening. His dad loaned him money once for a down payment on his car, but Jake paid back every cent. No one made guilt trip comments. No one showed up with mysterious bills needing immediate payment. They just enjoyed each other's company. Is that what normal families do? Wild. Maria noticed I was quiet during dinner and asked if I was okay. I ended up telling them the whole situation. Instead of judging me, they actually validated my feelings. Jake's mom even said she had a brother who did the same thing to their parents until they finally cut him off. First time I felt like I wasn't crazy for wanting boundaries. Meanwhile, scrolling through social media, I saw my family posting pics looking all happy, like nothing was wrong. Mom even captioned one, "Perfect family Christmas," with Drake smiling with his arm around her. I felt a bunch of emotions. Frustrated, hurt, sad. But mostly, I felt free, like a massive weight was gone. I did send a gift to my 8-year-old niece, Drake's daughter from a relationship that ended years ago. She lives with her mom across the country, and Drake barely sees her. She didn't do anything wrong, and I didn't want her to think I forgot about her. But OFC, they couldn't leave it there. About a week later, Drake texted asking for $1,800 because his car was about to get repoed. Said he'd pay me back when his new job started next month. I didn't even reply. Same pattern, different day. When I finally stopped giving, they just didn't know how to handle it. New Year's Eve came, and Mom sent a text saying, "I hope you're happy with your new friends while your real family struggles." I blocked her number that night. New year, new boundaries. Drake tried a different approach. Called me from a friend's phone pretending it was an emergency. When I answered, he started with this sob story about being evicted. I hung up as soon as I realized it was him. He called back 7 times. The next day, I changed my number. Gave the new one only to people I actually trusted. The silence was incredible. No constant pings of guilt or demands. I could actually focus at work, sleep better at night. Even started going to the gym again. Not gonna lie, the next few weeks were rough. Mom started this campaign of getting relatives to text me about family loyalty. My cousin Tyler even called saying Mom was telling everyone I abandoned the family. I tried explaining to Tyler how they'd been using me as an ATM for years, and he actually got it. Turns out Mom had pulled similar stuff with his dad, her brother, years ago. Tyler shared some tea I never knew. Apparently, Mom had borrowed thousands from Uncle Steve over the years, never paying it back. When he finally stood his ground, she spread rumors in the family that he was selfish and unloving. Sound familiar? She'd been playing this game way longer than I realized. Then came the Facebook posts. Vague stuff like, "Some people forget where they came from," and "Blood is thicker than water, but some people's hearts are made of stone." Real subtle, Mom. She even posted a throwback pic of me as a kid with the caption, "Remember when family meant something to you?" Had to block her after that one. The emotional manipulation was off the charts. My Aunt Linda, who I always thought was cool, called me to hear my side. But 2 minutes in, it was clear Mom had already poisoned the well. Linda kept saying things like, "But she's still your mother, and family has to stick together." I finally asked if Mom was hitting her up for money too. The silence told me everything. Days went by and I didn't change my mind. No calls picked up, no messages replied to. My family had gone too far, and I was out. It wasn't easy, though. Sometimes I'd question myself. Like, did I overreact? Was I being too harsh? They were still my blood relatives, after all. But then I'd remember how they took advantage of me for years, without giving a single shit about how I felt. And the guilt would fade. I'd been way too nice for too long, and it was crystal clear they didn't respect me at all. They only cared what I could give them. I spent New Year's with Jake and a few other friends, which was actually awesome. No stress, no guilt trips, no money requests. Just us playing video games and finally breathing. Then the sneaky guilt texts started rolling in from Mom. "It's really sad you're not part of the family anymore. Drake keeps asking when you're coming back home. Maybe think about forgiving us. I'm just worried about you, Alex. This isn't like you to be so cold." I didn't answer, but NGL, the guilt started creeping back in. Maybe I was too harsh? My coworker Miguel noticed I seemed distracted at work. When I explained the situation, he shared that in his culture, family financial support was normal, but with respect and boundaries. The difference was reciprocity. His parents had sacrificed to help him through school, so he helped them in return. It wasn't a one-way street of constant demands like with my family. That conversation helped me see the situation more clearly. This wasn't about me refusing to help family. It was about setting healthy boundaries with people who had shown they didn't respect any boundaries at all. Still, every day was a battle with my conscience. Had I abandoned them? Was I the bad guy here? I started journaling every night, writing down all the times they'd taken advantage of me, all the manipulative comments, all the guilt trips. It helped keep things in perspective when the doubt crept in. One day, I got an email from Drake's ex, Vanessa, my niece's mom. She thanked me for the gift I'd sent and mentioned that Drake hadn't paid child support in over a year. Meanwhile, he was posting pics of his new gaming PC online. That realization hit hard. While begging me for essentials, he was spending whatever money he had on himself. Not even his daughter came before his wants. I sent Vanessa some money for my niece, with a promise to stay in touch more. That little girl deserved better than to be forgotten because of her dad's behavior. January dragged on. The texts from Mom slowed down, but got more dramatic. She claimed to be sick, said she might lose the house, mentioned mysterious medical issues, each message designed to pull me back in. I didn't respond to any of them. Mid-January, I was making dinner when Mom called. Heart racing, I answered. She started with this weak, begging voice saying she'd been thinking a lot and was sorry for what she said. Said they all missed me and wanted me to stop by so we could make things right. For a split second, I thought maybe she was actually sorry. But then she launched into how rough things were, especially for Drake, who'd lost his new job already. Said the landlord was threatening eviction and she didn't know what to do. I stayed quiet for a while. It was the same old script. They only remembered me when stuff went wrong. When they were fine, I didn't exist. I finally told her I wasn't her personal money machine. Said I'd given them over 40 grand in 3 years, and somehow it was never enough. Told her my mind was made up. After a long pause, her voice went sharp and cold. She told me to stay away. Said I always thought I was better than them with my fancy job and condo. Said when I realized family was all I really had, I'd be sorry. It hurt, but something shifted inside me. I wasn't upset anymore. I was calm. It was the first time I really stood up for myself, and it felt right. I ended the call without another word. The next day, I started getting calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I answered one. It was Mom using a friend's phone. Another was Drake calling from work. I blocked each new number as it came in. I decided to be proactive and called my bank to set up extra security on my accounts. Changed all my passwords. Got a credit monitoring service. Something told me they wouldn't give up easily, and I wanted to be prepared. I was right. A few days later, I got home to find Mom had left a letter taped to my door. 6 pages of handwritten guilt, ranging from "I sacrificed everything for you" to "I guess I failed as a mother" to "Drake might end up homeless, and it will be your fault." I threw it in the trash without finishing it. The next day, another letter appeared, and the next. I talked to my building manager, and they agreed to stop letting her in. She switched to sending these guilt bombs through mail instead. I gathered all the letters in a box but didn't read them. Then Drake tried a new angle. He sent a text from a new number saying he'd been doing some thinking. Said he realized how much he'd taken advantage of me over the years. Apologized for never paying me back. Claimed he was turning his life around and had an interview for a real job. Said he wasn't asking for money, Just wanted to rebuild our relationship. For a minute, I actually believed him. Thought maybe my standing up for myself had finally gotten through. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop that weekend. I should have known better. Drake showed up looking better than I'd seen him in years. Clean clothes, new haircut, even showed up on time, which was a first. For 20 minutes, he was the brother I wished I'd had, asking about my job, my friends, even remembered my recent promotion. Then came the pivot. His voice got serious. He started talking about this amazing business opportunity he'd found. Just needed a $5,000 investment to get started. Guaranteed returns. His friend was already making bank with it. Classic Drake. The whole apology was just set up for another cash grab. I didn't even let him finish. Just got up, told him he'd wasted my time, and walked out while he was mid-sentence. He blew up my phone afterwards, alternating between apologies and calling me stuck-up and selfish. That night, I looked up the business opportunity he'd mentioned. Surprise, surprise, it was a pyramid scheme. He hadn't changed at all. February rolled around. A full month of standing my ground. The constant barrage of guilt and manipulation was exhausting, but I wasn't giving in. Each day got a little easier than the one before. Jake and his wife invited me over for dinner more often. I started making other friends too. Joined a local gaming group, started rock climbing at a gym near my place. Built a social circle that didn't revolve around obligation and guilt. I even met a girl, Megan. She's Maria's friend from college. We hit it off right away. On our third date, I told her about my family situation, bracing for judgment. Instead, she shared that her dad was similar. Always taking, never giving back. She got it completely. We started seeing each other regularly after that. The next few weeks were quiet. Drake didn't reach out, which wasn't surprising. Mom sent a couple more guilt texts, but I didn't answer. I was sticking to my guns. I finally started learning what normal family boundaries look like. I wasn't being selfish. I was just establishing normal boundaries that most families already have. Then, one morning at work, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Something told me to answer. It was my mom with a weak, trembling voice asking for help. When I questioned her, she admitted she needed $2,200 for the mortgage. I could hear the desperation, but I wasn't falling for it again. Same story, different day. I told her I was done, and that while I felt bad she was struggling, it wasn't mine to fix. Said she and Drake had to deal with it without me. I hung up, and for the first time in years, I felt a calm I hadn't known before. I'd taken my power back. I wasn't going to let them play games with my emotions again. I knew they'd be pissed, maybe even hate me, but I wasn't scared of their reaction or the guilt anymore. I was free. Later that day, my mom showed up at my workplace. She was crying in the lobby, telling the receptionist she needed to see her son. I was in a meeting when my boss came in saying there was a situation. I had to explain to my entire team why my mother was having a meltdown in reception. Most embarrassing day of my professional life. Security had to escort her out when she wouldn't leave. As they were taking her, she was screaming about how ungrateful I was after everything she'd done for me. My boss Dave was actually cool about it. Turns out his brother-in-law is the same way, always asking for handouts. He gave me the rest of the day off and told me to handle my business. When I got to the parking lot, I found Mom waiting by my car. She'd been crying, mascara running down her face. For a second, I felt bad for her. Then she launched into the same manipulative speech I'd heard 1,000 times. I told her she needed help, not financial help, but actual therapy. Said her relationship with money and family was toxic. She acted like I'd slapped her. Said I was the one with problems, not her. I managed to leave without causing a scene, but as I was driving away, I saw her taking pictures of my license plate. Weird move, but I didn't think much of it at the time. That night, Megan came over. Having her support meant everything. She didn't judge me or tell me I was being too harsh. Just listened and reminded me I had every right to set boundaries. The next morning, my credit card got declined at the gas station. Weird, since I knew I had plenty available credit. Called the bank and found out someone had tried to max out my card overnight with online purchases. The bank had frozen it as suspicious activity. The purchases were being shipped to my mom's address. I was livid. Filed a police report immediately. Changed all my financial passwords again. Put a fraud alert on my credit. The bank reversed the charges, but it was clear my family was escalating beyond just emotional manipulation. When I confronted Mom by text about the credit card, she denied everything. Said I was making things up to make her look bad. Classic gaslighting. Things quieted down for about a week. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten the message. I was wrong. 2 days after the workplace incident, Drake called from a new number. He started yelling, clearly intoxicated at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Called me stuck up and said Mom was a mess because of me. I calmly pointed out he was 33 and should try acting like it. He said Mom gave up everything for me, and this was how I repaid her. I laughed and asked what exactly she gave up since I paid my own way through college, bought my own car, and got my own place while he was still living in her basement approaching 40. He claimed they didn't need my money and that he had something huge going on. I didn't think much of it at the time. Drake was always claiming to have some big break just around the corner, but something in his tone bothered me. He sounded confident, not his usual desperate self. A few days later, my bank called about suspicious activity on my checking account. Someone had tried to set up automatic payments to various bills I didn't recognize. The routing numbers matched my account, but the signatures were obviously forged. I froze all my accounts immediately and filed another police report. The bank investigator said it looked like identity theft, but from someone who had access to my personal information. Gee, I wonder who that could be. My credit monitoring service started sending alerts about inquiries from credit card companies and loan providers I hadn't contacted. Someone was trying to open accounts in my name. A month passed. Jake and I started hanging out more. I even went on a few dates with his wife's friend Megan. Life was looking up. Then Drake's huge thing became clear. My cousin Tyler called to warn me that Drake had been arrested for running some kind of check scam using my name and social. My blood went cold. I immediately checked my credit report. Sure enough, there were 6 accounts I didn't recognize. This guy had stolen my identity. I was livid, but also prepared. I'd frozen my credit after cutting them off. Just a precaution, guess I knew them better than I thought. So the damage was limited, but still. I went straight to the police with everything. Filed identity theft reports, pressed charges against Drake. The detective told me this wasn't Drake's first rodeo. He had priors for similar scams. The next day, Mom called sobbing. She begged me to help Drake, saying he could go to prison for years. I told her I was actually the one who gave the police the final evidence they needed. The silence was deafening. She was horrified that I'd pressed charges against my own brother. I pointed out that Drake stole my identity and tried to destroy my credit and reputation, yet she was still defending him. She started screaming about me tearing the family apart and how I'd regret this. I just hung up. The detective called later that day with more info. Turns out Drake had been using my identity for months, even before I cut them off financially. He'd opened credit cards, taken out loans, even leased a car in my name. Most of it was after I stopped giving them money, but some went back nearly a year. The part that hurt most? Mom knew. She'd helped him get copies of my social security card and birth certificate from her old files. She'd even driven him to a bank where he used a fake ID with my name to open an account. The next few days were a barrage of calls and texts. Mom begging. Random relatives I barely knew pleading Drake's case. I blocked them all. Drake got denied bail due to flight risk and prior offenses. He's looking at 3 to 5 years minimum. Then came the real karma. Mom had apparently been signing as guarantor on Drake's scams. The police investigation revealed she knew what he was doing. Now she was facing charges too. 2 weeks later, I got a letter from her attorney. She was begging me to testify on her behalf, to tell the court she was a good mother who just got caught up in her son's schemes. Said she'd lose the house without my help. I wrote back 3 words. Not my problem. Jake thought this was too harsh and reminded me she was still my mom. I asked if he meant the mom who helped my brother steal my identity, who showed up screaming at my workplace, and who emotionally blackmailed me for years. The trial was quick. Drake pleaded guilty to reduce his sentence. Mom got a good lawyer, no idea how she paid for it, and managed to get a plea deal. Probation instead of jail time. Still a felony conviction, though. I did eventually visit Drake in jail. Not to forgive him, but to get answers. He admitted it was supposed to be a one-time thing to get back on his feet, and he'd fix it before I found out. I reminded him that's what he always said about the money I lent him too. He actually looked ashamed and apologized. I didn't say I forgave him, because I don't, but at least he finally owned his shit. The visit was weird. Seeing my brother in an orange jumpsuit behind glass, the guy who taught me to ride a bike when we were kids, who stood up for me when I got bullied in middle school, before money and Mom's favoritism poisoned everything between us. For a moment, I felt that familiar guilt creeping back. The blood is thicker than water programming trying to override my common sense. But then I remembered the $43,000, the constant manipulation, the identity theft that could have ruined my life, and the guilt faded again. Mom got probation and community service, lost the house anyway. She's living with my aunt now. Still sends me guilt trip texts, but I've stopped reading them. I did run into her at the grocery store about a month after everything went down. She looked older, tired. Tried to talk to me like nothing had happened. Asked about work, about my condo. I kept it brief, civil but distant. As I was leaving, she said, I only wanted what was best for our family. I just replied, no, You wanted what was best for you. It wasn't the dramatic confrontation I'd imagined, just a sad interaction between two people who used to be family, but now we're practically strangers. It's been 6 months now. My credit's clean again. I'm still seeing Megan. Getting pretty serious, actually. I'm learning what normal family relationships are supposed to look like. Her parents are amazing, supportive without being intrusive. They help her when she really needs it, but they've never made her feel guilty about it. When they visit, they bring food instead of bills. They ask questions and actually listen to the answers. Wild concept, right? Last month, I got a promotion at work. First person I called was Jake, not Mom or Drake. Weird how the people who actually care about you as a person are the ones you want to share good news with. Some days are harder than others. Mother's Day was rough. So was Drake's birthday. Old habits die hard. And there's still that voice in my head sometimes saying, I abandoned my family when they needed me. But then I remember they weren't treating me like family. They were treating me like an ATM with legs. And ATMs are allowed to be out of service sometimes. I still think about them sometimes. Wonder if I could have done something differently. But then I remember, you didn't break this family, Alex. You just stopped letting them break you. Looking back, cutting them off was the best decision I ever made. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I finally realized I deserved better. We all do. And that $43,000 I calculated they'd taken from me in 3 years? I've already saved almost half that amount since cutting them off, planning a trip to Japan next year, something I've always wanted to do but could never afford. Funny how that works. I did get a letter from Drake last week. He's almost a year into his sentence now. Said he's been taking classes in prison, getting therapy, trying to figure out why he is the way he is. Said he doesn't expect forgiveness, but wanted me to know he understands why I did what I did. Part of me wants to believe him. The brother I grew up with is still in there somewhere, under all the manipulation and entitlement. But trust isn't given back easily once it's broken. Maybe someday we can have some kind of relationship again, but it'll never be what it was. And honestly, that's probably a good thing. Mom hasn't changed at all. She's still playing the victim with anyone who'll listen. My cousin Tyler says she tells everyone I abandoned her and Drake when they needed me most. Conveniently leaves out the identity theft and decades of financial abuse. I've started building a new kind of family, one based on mutual respect and genuine care. Jake and Maria, my gaming group. Megan and her amazing parents. People who like me for ME, not for what I can give them. Last weekend, Megan and I were hanging out at my place when she asked if I ever regretted cutting my family off. I thought about it for a minute before answering. I regret that I didn't do it sooner, I said. I regret the years I spent trying to buy their love. But ending the cycle? Never. She got it completely. Said she was proud of me for standing my ground. That it takes guts to walk away from toxic family when society tells you that you should put up with anything because they're blood. The funny thing is, I actually feel more love in my life now than I ever did when I was in contact with Mom and Drake. Turns out, when you stop pouring energy into people who drain you, you have so much more to give to people who actually deserve it. I've even reconnected with my niece. Send her birthday and Christmas presents. Video chat sometimes. She's 9 now and smart as hell. I'm hoping to be the stable adult in her life that I never had. Some people might read this and think I'm cold-hearted. That family is family, no matter what. To them, I'd say, would you stay in a romantic relationship where you were constantly manipulated and used? Where your partner only called when they needed money? Where they stole your identity and tried to destroy your credit? Of course not. So why accept that treatment from family? Being related doesn't give someone the right to abuse you. Period. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that real family isn't about DNA. It's about respect, support, genuine care. Sometimes the family you choose is healthier than the family you're born into. And that $43,000? I don't even consider it lost money anymore. I consider it the price of my freedom. Expensive. Yeah. Worth it? Absolutely. So if you're reading this and stuck in a similar situation, know that it's okay to walk away. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to put yourself first sometimes. Because you deserve better. We all do.